Hey everyone, thank you for joining me here on Retro Geek Gaming for another YouTube video discussion. Now, as you can see from the picture that I put in front of me, that here's an idea, a patent that supposedly come out for the next Nintendo Switch. Now, this is something that I don't normally show, but I figured that this would be a good picture, a good thing to show why I think the Switch 2 is going to be the way that it is, because I think that this is going to be something that's going to possibly be VR related, have some kind of connection back to VR, because of the simple fact that a lot of these pictures show like this is tennis in first person. There's another one that shows tennis with two people, so I can imagine something like a Nintendo Switch Sports 2 using like a VR mode. Now, that's not to say that every single game is going to be VR, obviously. I do like the idea of doing that. But like I've talked about before with stuff like the PSVR 2 and how you can wear it and you can even watch your apps like Hulu and Netflix and stuff without having to have the TV on, I think it might have some kind of mode like that. And the reason why is because I just think that it would work out best. It's a natural evolution of the Switch. I mean, if you think about it, if you take the Switch already, you take it out of the dock and it's got a good screen and it slides in, and even if it looks like PSVR 1 quality, it's still going to be decent enough to pass. And then, just like it does with Labo, all it has to do is slide in to some kind of an apparatus, or it can be like the PSVR 2 and just simply connect into USB and it's done. Now, I've tried to record this video a couple of times already, so forgive me if I'm kind of brief with stuff, because I had a longer video that I initially recorded that for some reason did not show up in my camera feed, and I've been trying for the past 2 days to record this video, so hopefully this one goes through. But in that video, I basically showed this, and I showed about how Nintendo basically hinted in a statement that Mr. Furukawa made that they are not really necessarily looking for a novelty for the sake of putting one in there, but that they're more so looking for innovative ways to play. And this has been apparent pretty much ever since the beginning. I mean, the N64 tried to use analog sticks, tried to use a analog stick. The Wii used probably the best controller that they've ever had outside of the Switch, because it was able to connect to all kinds of different accessories with the thing on the bottom, and it was able to be played on the side as, regular NES games and stuff like that. And the Switch, of course, has taken that concept to the next level. So now what could they do? Well, they could basically just continue to do like the Switch has done, and I've already shown this before on a previous video, but they could use something like this controller here. Now, this controller here is a third-party controller from Nixie. It lights up. I'm not going to light it up so you can see it, but it has an improved stick. It has the ABXY like it does. It still has the side buttons, but what makes it different is the fact that on the bottom there is a trigger right here that you can program to be any button. And I think that would work out great, because when you're holding this, right? When you're holding this, and it's got L and R up here, but let's imagine they don't have the R. You just have the L and the R, right? And then right here is where the trigger is, and you're just holding it naturally. You can just easily do like this and use your fingers to grip the controller. And the reason why I showed this is because this can be a natural evolution. If they just took out the little ring part of what the PSVR controller is, here's the PSVR 2, the VR Sense, whatever they call it. And what is this? Well, this is basically a smaller analog stick, just like the Joy-Con controller has. And it has a trigger and then a button right here that's ZR. Now, this could be moved up right here for Nintendo's sake. And this could just be something that as you're playing games, you just easily, again, use it to use this and swing a bat or whatever. It can be super easy to use. And look, that's not to say that Nintendo won't continue to use their Pro Controller. I mean, their Pro Controller is good. The Wii U Pro Controller was good. the Switch Pro controller is pretty comfortable. I just think that for the sake of making it easier, it needs to be backwards compatible to Joy-Cons. For those people that want to use it, backwards compatible to their Switch Pro controller, for those people that want to use it. And then they have that option, because just like here's a third-party one that slides in, lights up, and it does everything that the regular Joy-Cons do, but it's thicker and it lights up. You have the option of, if you were comfortable with the way that the original Joy-Cons were, you can continue to use that. That does not change, right? That doesn't change at all in any way, shape, or form. If you were comfortable using the Pro controller, that does not change any way, shape, or form. But if you wanted to, you could use these new and improved controllers that I hope are like these, that are like the VR Sense controllers. I hope that they're like that. Because then you got this improved grip where you can touch every single button. You can touch the A and the B, and then the other one would have X and Y, for an example. You can touch every single button. You have access to the analog here. Even if you want to make it to where all the face buttons are still on this side, that's cool too. But it still slides down on the bottom to give you that improved grip. It will still have SL and SR on the side. And Nintendo would not have to sell extra accessories. Now, I know that some people don't make a big deal about extra accessories. They'll buy the battery packs. They'll buy the whatever. But I know that Nintendo is typically the kind of company that goes and gives you everything. Like, if you think about it, the Switch gave you everything you needed to play right out of the box, right? Like, it gave you 2 Joy-Cons, so you could play with 2 players if you wanted to. It gave you everything right out of the bat. So if they are coming out with some kind of a VR-like system, I really do think they're going to give you everything out of the box to use it, even if it is a cardboard box that you just simply have a strap for and you use it to play games away from the TV. Now, that's one option about what the next Nintendo Switch could be, or the Nintendo Focus, as I've heard it being called, or whatever it is that Nintendo's going to call it. The other idea that makes me think about this is it's almost like a Kinect. So maybe it's like the PlayStation Eye, or even like the Kinect, where you could do motion-based games with just your hand. Or maybe with your phone. Because we've heard that rumor also that's going to continue to use phones. Now, at the end of the day, because someone who's gotten their hands on a development kit and has actually physically seen it says that it's very PlayStation-like, which is the reason why I mentioned the VR, because Sony is all in on the VR concept at this point, but Nintendo is not. But they have dabbled in it before with both the Virtual Boy and, like I talked about in a previous video, the Nintendo Labo cardboard. So they've dabbled in it before, and the Switch is already ready for VR. I mean, that was one of the first things that I thought about when I got my hands on the Switch, was all this thing needs to do is slide into a piece of plastic and split the image up, and you can instantly do VR. And that's what they did. So going forward with that, doesn't seem like it would be that hard. And even though Nintendo is not really big on accessories, if they gave us a small little square camera and used it to be able to log in with our faces and use it to be able to play certain games, and I'm not saying all games, because again, I still want to have the Zeldas and the Marios and those big first-party games that still use traditional controls. I would not mind that at all. But for a game like Nintendo Switch Sports, you could easily make it to where you can just swing your arms around, especially if you can get it to be really accurate, or you can use the Joy-Cons in a unique way like we talked about with VR. Or the other idea that came to my head, and this is the last idea that I'm going to throw out there, is the fact that it might be something like back in the day when Sony was trying to push a PlayStation TV. It might be something like that. It might be a little square box that hooks up, a little square box that goes to your TV. That's the dock, quote-unquote dock, that plays the games, upscales them, and they're all digital, so they're upscaled with that. And then you have something that's small, like a Vita, let's say, something like that, like a Switch Lite kind of thing, that you just simply transfer those games over digitally, and you can take them on the go, and they're scaled down to run better on that smaller console. And so in a way, Nintendo sort of keeps the idea of they work together because it's also a controller. Think of like what you could do with the PlayStation Vita, and how even now I think you could even do it with remote play, and how you could basically play your games from your mobile device like it's a portable, something like that. Those are the three things that I'm thinking of. But I stuck more to the VR idea because at the end of the day, I still think that that's going to be the best option. I mean, if you think about it, outside of needing to get a separate controller like you have to do with the PlayStation VR 2 or like the PlayStation VR 1, where you had to buy Move controllers and you had to have the camera, the Switch already has an accelerometer inside of it. The Switch is already capable of doing all this stuff. And if you've ever tried Labo, you know what I'm talking about. And you can even already use the traditional Joy-Con. So if you just improve that technology, then the Switch 2, the Focus, the Pro, whatever it's called, will be able to use VR right out of the box. And all you have to do is just supply some kind of an accessory. But just based upon this image, and also just based upon this image that shows like this is some kind of a unit that has an image and sound output option, but also has a processor built in for it, like it's almost got a screen and its own processor with it, like it's separate from what is being displayed on this display section above. I don't know, this could potentially be, and there's a controller communication section, so this could easily be something that is just a box that shows its own image, like a VR box. I mean, I don't really know. At the end of the day, we still have to wait for Nintendo to show it off. We know that it's done. We know that it's ready. We know that people have dev kits. And so whenever they show it off, I'm excited to see what it is. And hopefully it lives up to all the hype and all the expectations that people have for it. But that's all that I wanted to talk about in today's video. I had a much better video, and I wish you could have seen the original, so I apologize for this little bit of a crappier one. But it is talking about a lot of the same points that I talked about before, and focusing more on the VR, because I'm just convinced that with that first image that you saw, that this is going to be something that potentially uses VR more so, and focuses more on that. Or even potentially is like a Wii U and has a box that is the console and a tablet-like controller that is its controller, but unlike the Wii U gamepad, this time would be more like the Switch. Is completely portable and can go anywhere you take it, and all you gotta do is just download the games to it. Almost like what you got with Cross-Buy, where you could get the PS3 version of a game and the Vita version of a game. All you have to do is just download it, and there you go. And I think that would also be good for multiplayer, because if they give you both, and I'm using the Switch Pro controller, and I'm playing the game on a TV, and my sons want to jump in, they just got to pick up that tablet-like controller and load up the game under their profile. And now they can jump in and they can play on their own screen. That was something that was great about the Wii U, was being able to take certain games like Mario Kart and play it on your own screen without having to look at a split screen that's up above you because, hey, your kids are currently all hogged up in front of the TV and you can't even see it, so you just look down. Now, it still gives you the split screen, I know, but it was still cool. And even back with stuff like, again, like Nintendo Land, which again, if Nintendo Land 2 is a launch game, something like that would work out perfectly as well. So, just some random ideas. But what do you guys think about this? Do you think this is something Nintendo could be doing? Do you think we're just going to get a more traditional Switch? Because I know Nintendo. And even though they went from a Nintendo to a Super Nintendo, and they really just made it to where it was just a more powerful NES, They still improved the controller in some way. They added more to it. And that's something Nintendo has always done. Even with the Wii to the Wii U, they could have just simply made the Wii U be a more powerful Wii and kept the same controllers, or even improved upon the Wii remotes, but they gave you a tablet controller instead. So they're going to come out with some different idea at the end of the day. But what that idea is, who knows? It's still up in the air. But I do want to hear what you guys think about this, about the ideas that were talked about in today's video. And what do you think about the prospect of a Switch 2? Do you think this is something that we're just going to see more from Nintendo on? And what are your thoughts about it? But I hope that you guys have yourself a good one. I'm trying to be off camera a little bit more for the sake of trying to do something different with my channel. So what do you guys think about this? Do you think this is something that could work? Or should I just continue to go back to the black background that I had and just continue to do that? But at the end of the day, guys, I'm glad that you watched, and I hope that you have yourself a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time on Retro Geek Gaming. Have a good one.